What is going on, guys? So today we are basically going to be replacing a coolant bottle in an E46. So I figured now is the time to kind of introduce you the new car. Just picked this one up. So it's a E46 330. It's got about 210,000 Ks. It's pretty clean. Like, it's got a bit of paint fade and stuff, but the interior is pretty mid, which I'll show you later. So today we've got a coolant leak, so we've got to replace the coolant reservoir and do a full flush, and that should be it. Just managed to get the underlining off, just got the plastic off. Basically what I'm going to do is now unplug the bleeder screw, just get all the coolant out onto a container, and then we can just and then once all of the coolant is out, we can take out the reservoir bottle, and then we can put the new one in, put just like rainwater through it just to flush it out, and then new coolant. So now I've gone ahead and removed this cowl panel here. So there's basically these little tabs that you pop up. There should be about 3 of them. You pop that up and you slide it out. So it just slides out of here. Sorry, it slides out of this one here, and this is the things you pop up. So basically you pop this one off first. Then you can undo all these tabs on the sides, and just be careful because you've got some on the side as well. And then you can take that off. And now what I'm about to do, I'm just going to unbolt these. Just to get this thing out of the way, and that will be, I think that's pretty much all we need to take out the way, and then we can start getting to the expansion tank. So just a quick update, I've got the new coolant expansion tank in. It was a bit of a bitch to do because the bottom kind of gets stuck, and there's a weird way that the clip goes in. You have to slide it out, and when you put it back in, it's a bit difficult. But I've got I figured out another problem, and why it's so oily underneath the car is I actually had a split in the power steering line. Now it was a pretty big slit. It was like you could just tension it a little bit and oil come out. So I would assume that's why it's so oily underneath, and the oil, there wasn't very much in here. It's pretty low as well. So what I've basically done is I cut it straight in half, and I got a bit of a joiner, and I've just hose clamped it just for temporary, because it's better to do something like this than to constantly have it piece out with oil. Now it might still leak a tiny bit, but definitely nowhere near as what it used to. But I figured this would probably be the best thing to do as a temporary measure. But basically I've just started assembling back this. I've just put that back in. I'm going to put the airbox back in, plug it in, and then run it for a little bit, just so we can get the all of the air bubbles out. So I'm going to go ahead and put the airbox back in, and then basically from there we'll just start to we'll run the car, put it on heater, full blast heat, and get the air bubbles out and make sure it doesn't overheat. So I'm just going to start the car now, and we're going to just let it run for a little bit just to make sure it gets up to heat. Then we can put on the heater, so it just all flows, like the coolant flows through the heater core, and just to make sure we don't have any air bubbles in the system. So we'll be using the bleed screws just to make sure that we've got all the air out, and we're good to go. So everything is now back into place. I've got the clips back into this thing, and the coolant has been bled. So basically what we had to do was just open up that bleeder screw, and just leave it open a little bit while the car was running and the heat is on full blast. Now with BMW, obviously you're gonna make sure you got the hot and cold all the way to hot. I know that's a bit weird, but with these cars, I think you just have to do it. So full blast on heat until you get heaps of air coming out of this. Now sometimes you won't have a ton of air coming out, like when I was bleeding the E92, when I had a full coolant flush, it barely ever, we didn't we didn't even need to bleed it. We just filled it up and it was good to go, and I just had the heaters on. It was all working. So now we've got a brand new expansion tank, and we've got new BMW coolant going throughout it, so it should last a lot more. Now I just got to work out that power steering line. I might just get a new one and fix that sometime soon, but otherwise that should be it for that for that leak, because I had a massive coolant leak and also an oil leak, so I'm assuming it's going to be that because it's all oily throughout underneath the car. But otherwise this is a job, I'd say a job success. Now another thing just to keep your eye out, because when you're replacing an expansion tank, they have this little extra line. Now when you buy an expansion tank, you got to make sure it's got it, and now I think most E46 ones are the same, but you just got to make sure if you have this or not. Now I did have it, so I got two. Now that's another one that's without the extra feet, so I figured I got two just to make sure, because I couldn't see it. So when I pulled it out, I made sure I can use that one, so I put this one in the car and returning that one back to where it's come from. But otherwise, I'd say a job success. We're done.